Hello and welcome to the Ren Den. I'm Ren, this is the Den, and today we've got a lot to catch up on, so get ready for 2 hauls and a scheduling update. So first of all, I'm sorry that this video is a little bit later than I would like, given the timeliness of the events that we're going to cover, but I have had a little health issue, so I have been kind of out of action for a week or so. Like properly out of action. I'm fine now, I'm recovering. But yeah, it's held up this a little bit, which is annoying because I've just had bags of stuff sat there and I want to go through them. So we're going all the way back to the last weekend in November, which was the Harrogate Knit and Stitch show. It was a really fun time. It was really, really busy, but like not like there was room to move around in most of it. It was a good balance. There was loads of cool stalls and cool stuff, and I got some cool stuff. So we're going to go through that first. And then the weekend after that was Dragonmeet in London, which has moved to the XL this year. And we're going to talk a little bit about how that was. In short, I thought it was really well put together, really cool to see a bunch of different stuff. So the second part of this video will be talking about what I got there. That's a slightly bigger pile. So yeah, we've got some stuff to get through. And then right at the very end, I'm just going to talk about scheduling over the next couple of months, given, you know, the holidays and like, you know, the time that I have. So feel free to skip to whatever part you're most interested in. The Harrogate Knit and Stitch if you're into like crafts and fibre crafts and arts and that sort of thing. And Dragonmeet if you're into tabletop games, D&D, board games, that sort of thing. And then the scheduling update if you're just here to find out what's going on. So without further ado, let's get started. So Harrogate, like I said, was really good fun. There were a lot of cool stalls. It was a lot of the same people who'd been there last year, and in fact quite a lot of them had also been at the Knit and Stitch at Islington in February, which was cool for certain things, as you will see, but it would have been nice to have a little bit more variation. I think I was sort of starting to think maybe you don't need to go to the same show every year or go to like, I think a lot of people travel quite far for these shows, so maybe I want to spend next year kind of being a little bit tactical about like maybe trying out the show at the Birmingham NEC or some more local things, just to try and kind of get a different pool of people, which isn't to say that like there wasn't plenty to choose from, but yeah, a lot of it was the same as the year before. I think, yeah, there's definitely a kind of group of people who will travel to every show, which props to them, that, you know, that's their business model. But yeah, next year I might look for like a little bit more variation. Anyway, I had a little bit of a shopping list when we went to Harrogate because I knew that otherwise I would go completely ham. And I wanted to, you know, be sensible. So I didn't go completely overboard. I think I was a little bit conservative in terms of what I bought, but I'm really pleased with all the things that I did buy. So let's get into it. The first purchases I made were very practical and on my list. I bought this yarn cutter pendant and this knitting counter, which has a toggle so that it can go on a cord, and actually so does the yarn cutter, because I essentially want to have a kind of like lanyard situation that just has all of the kind of ready to go crafting things, so that I can grab that and have all the like, particularly the sort of blades on me, so that if I need to get up while I'm crafting in the house, I don't have to kind of take inventory of all of the anti-cat things before I can go anywhere. So I got those from Swincraft 2, which I think they probably are more at shows than online, but they are a little bit online, so like definitely go and check them out. Prices were reasonable. They also had a bunch of yarn, but at that point I wasn't sure what I wanted in terms of yarn, so I didn't buy anything. I also got this tracing wheel from the Quilted Bear, which I was looking out for because I want to be able to use one size in a sewing pattern and then not have cut off all of the rest so that I can't use any of the other sizes. And I think a tracing wheel is the way to do that. particularly for the tracing paper patterns. So yeah, very pleased with that. Honestly, it took me longer than I thought to track one of these down. But you know, we got there in the end, so that's fine. And it's always nice to get a little something from the Quilted Bear, because they sell so many things that are, some of which are incredibly useful and some of which look incredibly useful, but you'll never pick it up again. So it's always nice to be like, I'm specifically looking for this thing. I think that works better from them. The next thing I picked up was this embroidered crochet book by Anna Nikipirovich. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Probably not. Which I thought was such an amazing, like, that's exactly what I've been thinking about, what it's possible to do to sort of decorate crochet after the fact and add, like, you can add then like different layers of sort of depth in a design. And she's got some really, really lovely designs in here, kind of combinations of stylistic and realistic and just the kind of textures that you can add to crochet. So I thought that would be a really fun way of yeah, just trying out a new thing with a familiar thing. And I'm very much on my crochet train at the moment, so that I'm definitely going to use that. Oh, and I should say I got this from Brian's Best Wool. They sell a bunch of wool, obviously, as well. But yeah, their book selection was very good. Next, I picked up two things from Sue Hawkins, which you may remember from last year's video. I looked very longingly at her stall for quite a long time and eventually walked away, and then sort of thought about it on and off all year. So I went back determined to buy something this year. So I got this thread cutter pocket with in the tulip design, and then matching a scissor pocket. Because again, these will be on cords, and I thought they would be a good addition to my lanyard plans. So yeah, very pleased with those, very excited to try that out, especially with the, like, because it's built on that kind of canvas stuff, so it's sort of more rigid. But I think learning how to make like pockets out of that sort of thing will give me a new angle on something that I've done before, which I'm excited to try. The next thing I got, I am possibly the most sort of irrationally pleased about, but annoyingly I can't remember exactly which stall I got it from. I've tried to look at the map, but it's just been too long since we went, which is really irritating. I know it was somewhere at the back of Hall C, so at some point I might try and go through everyone's like websites and stuff and try and figure it out by process of elimination. But I think she was selling a lot of like dead stock and like end of range things, so it might be hard to pass it from the website. So sorry, this one I don't know exactly where I got it from, but it's about 7.5 meters of this gorgeous like burgundy paisley fabric, which I'm really pleased with. It was really fun too. I've kind of always wanted to pick up like a whole bolt and just take it to the counter and be like, this whole bolt please. And normally this would be £9.99 a meter, and it was £23 for 7.5 approximately. So yeah, incredibly good bargain, and I'm planning to make pajamas out of it, because I think that would be like, I could have like shorts and trousers and a top and a vest or whatever, and then just kind of make those things interchangeable, but they're all made out of the same fabric. And yeah, I just thought that would be really fun. It would be really fun to just make a bunch of stuff out of one fabric, and I couldn't pass up the opportunity, so very pleased. And then just walking around with a whole bolt was really pleasing. It was really good fun. Next, I picked up this waistcoat pattern from the Fabric Townhouse. They had a few different ones, and we sort of ummed and ahed about like what shape I preferred the most. But I think this kind of, like there was one that had like one button and that had a lower V, but I think this shape with the, what is it, 5 buttons, is kind of the sort of the shape I was looking for, this kind of squarer shape. This was on my list. I wanted a waistcoat pattern and I knew I wanted one. And I didn't find it until quite late. I think it was in, because we went all the way to the back, like the other entrance of the venue, and then worked our way back towards the entrance that we'd come in at, which worked really well because then when you're finished, you're at the place where you want to leave. But yeah, this was in the third hall that we went to, so I was sort of on the look. I was surprised actually that there weren't more pattern shops I think I remember there being quite a lot at the Islington Stitch Festival. So I don't know. I mean, I was expecting to see Tilly and the Buttons, and we didn't see Tilly and the Buttons. I don't know if we just missed them, or if they weren't there for whatever reason. But yeah, the sort of pickings for patterns were a little bit slim, which was surprising to me. But found what I wanted, and didn't walk away with a bunch of other stuff I didn't need. So excited to try that. I could always try and use some of the paisley fabric with this, but I'm sort of envisaging like a plain or like darker waistcoat that I can just put over everything, like all of my shirts, which yeah, might be fun, and it'll have linings and stuff and buttons and a bunch of stuff I haven't done before, so that'll be fun to try. Oh, I also from that mystery stall did get a big reel of thread that matched the paisley fabric that I was buying, because then I just don't have to worry about it, you know, I can just plug it into the machine and get going. And then finally from Juco Designs, I bought a couple of things. One, this beautiful line of kind of weaving threads, different like textures and different varieties. And I just thought that was such a fun way of doing it. It's probably not the most cost efficient way to buy stuff, but like I just loved the sort of, it felt, I was really inspired to actually learn how to cast off stuff from my loom and to re-thread it? Is that the phrase? Which so far I've been a little bit scared to do. So my first trial at weaving is still on the, the loom because I got scared. So I thought that would be good motivation and inspiration to try that again. And I also got from her a little bag of, it's kind of very similar things. Some of them are, I think, the same as what's in there, but just a bit more bulk and just the similar colours, which I thought would make for a really fun kind of textured piece. I felt really kind of inspired by what she had hanging and the materials that she had. And yeah, we were sort of right at the tail end of the day at that point, and I was like, do you know what? I'm just gonna have this. So that's the whole haul from Harrogate. It feels like not a lot, but obviously some of the things were quite cheap, some of the things were a little bit more expensive. I feel like I stayed within budget, which is nice. And I definitely got everything that was on my list, more or less. I probably could have bought more fabric, but you know, the shelf is not full, so I have to work out where I'm going to put this bolt and if I'm going to wash all 7.5 meters of it at the same time or do it piece by piece as I'm using it. So I got to figure that out. But really glad we went. Like I said, you know, it would have been nice to see a bit more sort of regional variety in those sorts of shows, but still really good fun, and it was cool to see some of the same people again, and yeah, we had a really good time. So moving on to Dragonmeet, it was really good. They moved from the Hammersmith Novotel to the XL this year, and it just gave them a lot more room to work with. Like the Novotel, they were getting really crowded in there, and I think they laid themselves out in the XL really nicely. They didn't try and cram as much in as possible. There was plenty of space between the aisles, which meant that even if there was a crowd around a particular stall, you could still get round and then just come back when there was less of a crowd, which I thought was really good design. We didn't go to any of the seminars or anything, which I think I would like to do at these sorts of things, but it always takes the full day to go round the vendors even. And because Dragonmeet's only the one day, because like Harrogate is like 4 days, so you could go for 2 days and do a bunch of the like seminars and workshops and then do the vendors, or vice versa. Whereas Dragonmeet, you really do have to like be really efficient about how you're using your time to get round it all. It took us about 2 hours to do like the first quarter of the haul, and we had to sort of kind of go, okay, we're going to have to make it be a little bit faster for the rest of it, because we're just not going to get through it by the end of the day, which obviously is a great sign because there's loads of stuff going on, and like the variety of what's there is so good. Like it really does kind of fill the whole, like there's board games, there's TTRPGs, there's resources, costuming, dice, accessories, like anything in that space that you could imagine. There's something there. I think they've really got a good breadth of stalls, and like there were some that obviously we'd seen before, but I don't know, I feel like there's enough of a variety in that space that it doesn't feel repetitive. And also, like, it's probably the only, I mean, it's the only one of its like a sort of TTRPG and game focused convention that we went to this year. I think next year we're planning on trying to get to UKGE maybe, or Manchester Comic Con. So we might see a little bit more of the same people over and over next year. But this year it was like, yeah, the variety was really good. Now, again, it's been a second since we went, so I don't remember where I got all of these things from. I will say, as an aside, for both conventions, designers of the handbook, the little like pamphlet for like, this is where the stalls are, I think, because often the stalls are alphabetical, there's a list and then a map, and in the list the stalls are alphabetical, and then they have the code for like a location code or stall code or whatever, so that you can work out where they are on the map. And that's great if you're looking for a specific stall, and then you can find out where it is. If you're looking for sort of the other way around, like what's in this location, you have to scan the whole thing to find the number that you're looking for. And I almost think they should have the list in split, like done two ways. So the first way is the way that they're already doing it, and then the second way should be done by location, so that you can go, oh, well, there was that stall that was sort of roughly there. What was that? And actually look it up in a way that's slightly easier. So I have kind of trawled through the pamphlet, and I've really tried to pin down everything. But there's a couple where I haven't quite managed it, and it's particularly hard for the journaling games and the booklets and the books and things, because sometimes they are sold by more than one publisher. So I don't have everything, but I've done my best. So instead of going chronologically, we're going to go by type of thing. So we're first going to deal with the biggest pile, which is the sort of books, pamphlets, leaflets, etc. The materials, if you like. So almost the first stall we stopped at, which I'm not going to continue chronologically, but this is kind of the first place we went, I think, was the Level Up stall. Now, they do a bunch of really cool books for giving your D&D games more depth. They have a lot of good materials. They were also selling this series of RPGs. It's one RPG and then there's issues of different adventures. So I picked up issue 6 without really realising that was what I was doing. But then issue 1 came free with that, so that was fine. Because issue 1's got the rules in it. And then issue 6 was the sort of the vibes that I was interested in. So it's sort of designed to be a fun role-playing system, kind of a little bit of dungeons, a little bit of dragons. But honestly, I'm thinking I might adapt some of this one to a D&D game. But I wanted to have a proper read of that and see, because it looked like a fun system. The stall was incredibly generous. There was a lot of stuff. Obviously, their Level Up books are quite expensive in the way that like normal hardback D&D books are. But I want to have a proper look through them, because there's going to be some stuff in there that is really useful for like what I'm interested in exploring in D&D. We also got some character sheets for the ACE system for free with the issues. And then they were also handing out these like character stat block information sheets, which kind of expand on the D&D version of that monster and give it a bit more depth, give it a bit more sort of like context and like how it might behave and that sort of thing. And I really like the way that they're thinking about D&D and RPGs. So that was very cool. So I got a lot for the price of just one book. So going down the books, I picked up a couple of things from Blackwell Games. Apothecaria, which is a solo potion making game inspired by kind of rural environments, Studio Ghibli, Scottish mythology. There's a journal from an old witch that will tell you how to take care of people who come to you for help. And I just thought that was a really fun setup. And there's a lot of detail in there. It's quite a thick book. There's a lot of detail in there. So I picked that one up. And then I also got Delve, a solo map drawing game, which again I thought would be maybe a useful resource for like my homebrew campaign, but also fun in its own right. It's a sort of tactical drawing game where you're in control of a dwarven like stronghold. And you can like discover the like you're sort of building the map as you're playing through it, which I thought was a really cool concept. And I wanted to have a better look at that, so I picked that up. I also picked up, and it's not written on here, but I think this is from Innocent Goblin, where I have one of their games, I think, from Dragonmeet last year over there. This is the Goblings, where the heroes are newborn goblins on their first quest. I try and do like a kind of goblin-themed Christmas one-shot most years, and I felt like, and we're playing in a lot of different systems, we don't just do 5e, so I thought that would be a really fun kind of, you just got to put Santa hats on everyone and it's a Christmas one-shot and make it snow. I thought that would be a really fun basis for a one-shot like that. And I also have a little booklet called Chrysopoeia, All Around, which is about, it's a game where you write letters to each other, there's two of you, and you are alchemists kind of exploring this journey. That's quite a little booklet, but I thought it sounded like a fun setup, so. I also got Not Your Witch by Becky Annison. I think I have another Becky Annison game back there. I can't remember exactly which one, but I really like her writing style. This is published by Black Armada. And in this one, you move into a tumble-down cottage on the edge of a village, or on the edge of a wood, sorry. And everyone thinks you're the new witch, and you're not. But people keep asking you for help, so you have to figure that out. And I thought that was a really good setup. I also got Dark and Till and Dale, which is a series of horror scenarios inspired by like rural contemporary Britain, which is something that I haven't seen. It's kind of like, I don't know if it's like Midsummer vibes or if it's a bit darker than that. I sort of ummed and ahed about this because I'm not a big horror person, but I am running my homebrew is sort of inspired by rural landscapes and things like that. So I thought at the very least it would give me an angle on something else. But I just really enjoy it. Comes with a bunch of like ephemera materials and stuff. And I just kind of wanted to have a proper mind through that and explore that. So pick that up. And then I also got Pamphlet of Pantheons by James Holloway, which is a pamphlet about creating fantasy pantheons. I'm really interested in sort of fantasy religion, because I think that people don't always explore the fact that if the gods are real, what does that do to mythology? What does that do to story? Of we're not just telling stories and inventing things about these figures, and we can't, there's no argument about whether or not they're real. They objectively are. And if everyone's on board with that concept, where does that take you? And I'm always really interested in that. So I thought at the very least this would give me more kind of resource to explore those ideas. Similar to Dark and Till and Dale, I picked up a folklore bestiary by the Merry Mushmen, which is inspired by, I want to say, Eastern European, that might not be true, folklore. Yeah, I need to look that up, but folklore definitely. And again, sort of that like delving into the kind of like rural myths and superstitions and the stories that grow up in a very kind of local sense. I thought that was a really cool concept, so picked that up as a bit of a resource as well. And then I picked up Random Mini Dungeons by Odd Artworks, which I think is just a really simple but fun and straightforward kind of inspiration. It's a zine of 10 hand-drawn dungeon illustrations. I just felt like that was a great thing to have on hand, just to kind of pull a dungeon out and be like, we're going here now. And make that a bit easier. I also picked up at incredible discount Dragon Delves, which is an anthology of different Dungeons and Dragons adventures that are showcasing dragons. My homebrew is very sort of interested in the idea of like dragons and wyverns and how, sort of big ancient creatures of the world. So I thought this would be very relevant to what I'm doing. And it was like coming up to half price, so I didn't feel like I could say no to that. And then the last book I got is this chonker, Carved in Stone, by Stoat Stout Press, which is the most incredible exploration of the lives and the landscape of the Picts, sort of ancient Scottish peoples, and like how they interacted with each other and with their environment and what kind of considerations they had to make along the way. And again, that's something that my homebrew is sort of really interested in, kind of bedding down in, not in a kind of like, well, it's not historically accurate sort of way, but in a like really kind of exploring and having fun with the actual lives of people who would live in that sort of place. And like this book is designed to be a resource for TTRPGs. So it's like, oh, if you're going on an adventure, this is what's in the adventurers pack. But what would a real person actually carry with them to go from town to town? Because obviously you don't want to be lugging a huge amount of stuff around. And that sort of, just the angle of it is very cool. There's clearly a lot of research has gone into it, which is really cool. And like, frankly, we just couldn't resist rewarding such an incredible kind of resource and like scholarship effort. So, and because we bought it at the convention, I think. I mean, I know that we bought it at the convention, but I think as a condition of that, we also got a digital copy, which I think is separate on the online store. So that was very cool. But yeah, really excited to dig into that. So moving on to dice, I was very restrained, I thought. I only bought 2 sets of dice. I bought these ones from Tabletop Tinkering, which are these sort of lovely kind of curlicue blue and gold dice. And I bought another set of blue and gold dice from Bindwood Gaming, which I'll overlay so that you can see these properly, but they are absolutely gorgeous. The character that I'm playing in a friend's homebrew at the moment is kind of very like blue and gold themed, and both of these sets of dice were just so perfect and so beautiful that I just couldn't resist. Despite the huge box of dice over there. But yeah, I just couldn't, like, these are absolutely perfect. They're not even going to go in the main case, they're going to go in the box for that character. So it's fine. I got a couple of pairs of earrings. These ones from Gekahedron, which are these gorgeous, they make the dice as well that go in them. So it's not just like your normal kind of like basic mini dice. They're absolutely gorgeous. And I just really wanted a pair, and this pair really called to me. And then I also got some studs. You're not going to be able to see these from here, but I'll overlay some little dragon studs, which I just really love the idea of. Like, it's just a little silver stud, but it's a dragon. And I really love the idea of that. I wore them for like the next 2 days after the convention. I couldn't find where I bought them from, which is irritating. But if you search dragon stud earrings online, there's a couple of different places that sell them. So I'm not sure if the person I bought them from was the person who made them, or if it's like just a distribution thing. But yeah, if you search dragon stud earrings, they do come up. So yeah, sorry that I couldn't find the exact shop I bought those from, but they are available in other places. Okay, moving on to, I think, the final collection of stuff. Miniatures. So I bought a bunch of miniatures from Square Hex, who they buy minis in bulk from Reaper and then kind of repackage them for conventions. And often it's like I mean, the most I paid for anything was a bunch of villagers for £8. But the rest of these are like £1 and £2. And I also got a ton of bases. There's 20 bases in there for £2 and 5 big ones in there for £1. So yeah, just stocking up on the basics. Couldn't really say no to such a good deal on minis. So yeah, I got a bunch of villagers because I'm always looking for villagers. It's weirdly hard to find good villager minis that I like. So I got some of those. I got a gibbering mouther because it was £1 and it's very cool. I got a bag of females for £4, which are just the normal like girl sets from the regular Reaper minis, but all in one bag. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for £4, which is obviously like loads cheaper than they would normally be. And then I got 3 goats for £2 because why not? I love goats. And I thought they'd be really fun to paint. So I'm very pleased with that. Very economic. And yeah, I'll have to do like a big, it's been a while since I've done priming sesh for minis, so I'm gonna have to find a copper box and get that sorted. And then I also got so this one I couldn't work out where I bought this from. There's a few, I know roughly where it was in the convention, but like I said, the to use the pamphlet the way round I want to use it is not the easiest thing in the world. I think maybe they were from Make Geek Games, but I googled that and I couldn't find a single thing that was an online resource, but I would be so surprised if you couldn't buy this online anywhere. Anyway, it's a tin. This one is the Tavern Taproom tin. And inside there are a bunch of minis for like all the sort of accoutrement. So this is like a whole bag of like jars and bags and food and stuff. There's some creatures that you might find in a tavern. There's a bunch of barrels, and chairs and tables and just all the stuff that you would need in a tavern, but also like I felt like it was fairly transferable to a lot of environments. Like there's a lot of places where you need chairs and tables and creatures and storage. So I felt like that was the most kind of universally applicable box, but they had a couple of others and I would love to know where that was from so that I could potentially buy some more. So that one's really irritating. I'd really like to figure out where I got those from, but that's going to take a little bit more research, I think. And then just final honourable mention, the guys who made Mappa Mundi, which is an absolutely beautiful TTRPG, are coming out soon with Gallows Corner, A Peasant's Revolt. That's their newest game, which is about having to build a peasant's revolt and choosing, like, do you want to try and make local change? Do you want to try and make like national change? I think it's very relevant to the current time, and their whole vibe is really cool. I think they're really like genuine, nice people, and they're really excited about what they make, and it's always a joy to see them at any convention or anything that they do. Yeah, so please go check out Mappa Mundi, check out Gallows Corner, and they've got another one also coming out which I don't think I have a leaflet for, but hopefully you'll be able to find that online. Sorry, it slipped my mind at the moment. I think I would have found piecing together where I'd bought things slightly easier again if I'd done this slightly closer to when we went. I meant to do this basically the day we got back. Other events occurred, so I wasn't able to, but I've pinned down most of what I got, I think. So if you're interested in any of those things, I hope that that's useful to you. But yeah, that's my big hauls from Harrogate and from Dragonmeet. Really enjoyed both events. Really love Dragonmeet. It's just such a nice environment. So that's the hauls covered. I did want to just make a quick little update announcement about scheduling. I'm hoping to get this video out in the next few days, but we'll see how that goes. I'm still kind of recovering, so I don't want to push it. But I'm hoping to get this one out soon. After that, it's quite a busy time of year. I don't know if you've noticed. Christmas is coming up, a bunch of family events and birthdays and stuff. And while I have a nice long break off work, I don't want to give myself too much pressure to do too much, because I think if there's anything the last week has taught me, it's to chill out. So what my plan is I'm going to continue to like make things and film it, and explore projects. It's quite likely that you'll see me wearing this exact shirt in in the intro to another video, because I am planning on filming the intro for a next thing so that I can do that in front of the TV, sort of while I'm recuperating. So the timeline is going to get a little bit janky in terms of what's actually happening versus what's on the channel, because basically I want to build up the queue. So my plan is I am not going to post anything after this video comes out and for the rest of December. And I'm probably not going to post anything for the whole of January. I was a little bit anxious about it, but the last couple of videos have been later than I would like. I think I'm kind of down to like one a month at the moment, or one every 3 weeks or something. It is a really hard and busy time, and next year I think what I will plan to do is go dark like November, December, because November has really been like having to do secret craft and then craft I can film and then my job, which is also busy at that time of year. And I think it was just all too much. So I'm going to carve out pre-Christmas time to do secret Christmas craft and do it that way around next year. But this year, yeah, I just want to give myself a little bit of a head start on the queue, and just kind of, that way I can kind of dip between different projects and I don't have to be like, I have to do this one, boom, and then I have to do this one, boom, and kind of get the videos out in order and whatever. I don't have to worry about it. So in short, I will be back in February with lots of stuff. I've got lots of stuff planned and I'm really excited to share it with you. And I'll also be able to tell you about some of there's one thing in particular where I can't tell you about it at the moment because it's a Christmas present, but once Christmas has happened, obviously that video can just go out and it's not a problem. So I'm going to do that. But yeah, anyway, there's a lot of rambling around the headline, which is, after this you probably won't see me again until beginning of February. I might be on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see cool birds, pictures of cats, and occasional craft things, although this is my main craft outlet, and I find it hard to do Instagram and YouTube for the same craft projects, because obviously if I'm doing it the way I want to and I've queued up the project, then either the Instagram stuff about it has already gone out like 4 weeks earlier, or I have to remember to post about it later, and it just, the timeline's annoying. So yeah, Instagram for loose activity about birds and pictures of cats, I think. And otherwise, yeah, that's it. So take care, and I will see you in February for the next project. Merry Christmas if you celebrate.